Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Welcome into Those Were the Days, the show where we sit back, have a few beers, and discuss some old TV shows. Are they worth revisiting, or are they best left in the past? We're wrapping up our month of Worst of the Best, talking a lot at what is considered the worst episodes of great TV shows. But I can't do this alone. I am your host, Travis, aka TV's Travis, but I need a crack team of college-age kids. They gotta help me fight the forces of evil. So first, we have the lovable and not nearly as naive as you might think, Steven.
Do you and your buddies feel hobbled by today's inane and frankly stupid conversation? Well, your friends at Black Frost Brewing Company have just the solution for you. Black Frost Brewing introduces Rockbach. Brewed with honey, orange, and just a touch of baby aspirin, it really brings out the beast best in you. So pick up a case of Black Frost Rockbach today. So tasty, a caveman could drink it.
Everyone's favorite townie and bartender, it's Audie.
In every generation, there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against the vampires, demons, and the forces of darkness. She is the Slayer. Well, that sounds about like every woman. Ever. Like, every day.
And who is that Slayer? It's Amy.
There's a really special kind of irony in setting out to make an episode telling you how bad alcohol is that really requires you to be drunk to get through it.
Oh. So, wrapping up the worst of the best, we're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a show that was very well beloved and still is to this day. But we watched an episode that is not so beloved. Before we dive too much into this particular episode, though, I want to go around and find out everybody's history with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, starting with Audie.
Okay, so on Sundays, I went to a little United Methodist church, sat down in the pews, and worshiped in the house of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Later on in the week, I would sit down in front of the TV and worship at the feet of our nerd savior, Joss Whedon. So, and I know we've come a long way since then, and Joss has had his issues, but good gosh, I was all about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, I remember the movie and then the TV show, and I was all about the TV show. Like, just all of it, from Angel to Angelus to Spike and Drusilla to all the Slayers. There is a very particular version of Michelle Branch's Goodbye to You that lives rent-free in my head forever because of this show. And if you know, you know.
Wow. All right. Steven, how about you?
I've never watched this show before in my life. I did. So I love the movie, the Christy Swanson movie. I think we talked a little bit about it last night or last week post show or whatever. But I loved that movie so much. But when the show came out, I don't know. There was a small segment of television called Fox that I just did not know anything. I didn't watch anything on it. Was it on Fox? It was, right? I'm not lying about that because that was like Joss Whedon's place to be. Or was it on WB? Now I'm confused.
I don't think WB existed yet. Quite.
Oh, yeah, maybe not yet. I don't know. It was in that vein of like teenage supernatural drama kind of stuff, like Charmed and the Buffys and the other stuff that was very much like that, like the Dawson's Creek kind of. It's not supernatural, but you know, there was that teen drama world, and I wasn't in it.
Yep.
I didn't have time for that. I was doing. I don't know what I was doing, but it wasn't watching Buffy.
You're watching Dick Van Dyke.
I was waiting for the latest episode of Happy Days to drop. By latest, I mean the one that came out in '82. Yeah, I don't know.
It was in fact the WB.
Yeah, like right when the WB started, really.
Okay, well
It set a tone.
I guess I was thinking of Joss Whedon was like, Firefly was on Fox and stuff, so that's maybe where I was coming from. Feels like a Foxy show.
Kind of, yeah. Amy, how about you? What kind of history do you have with Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
So I have an interesting history with Buffy, and that I'm pretty sure this is the first episode that I ever sat down and watched. But in 1999, when I went away to college for my freshman year, um, so my dorm was a brownstone overlooking the public gardens, an address I will never be able to afford to live in again, largely because I had to pay to live in it in the first place. But as such, it was not set up like a traditional dorm. You know what I mean? So there was only one common room for the entire building. Um,
Right.
so I I had the largest TV on the floor, which was, I believe, a
Mm.
17-inch TV VCR combo that I did get as a high school graduation present. So my roommate was a big Buffy fan. And so she asked if we could host Buffy night in our room on account of having the big TV. And I
Right.
said, sure, of course. So it was her and like a couple of the girls from down the hall, and they would watch Buffy religiously. And it was just there. And I was doing other things in the room while it was there. But it was very, I mean, it was as churchy as it gets. You know what I mean? Like, it really was. You know,
Mhm.
you have your rituals
Sure.
and you've got your
Yep.
snacks and your setup, and they are there on time. It
Mhm.
Oh,
was
yeah.
like a whole thing. Do we have
Don't
a
show up for
tape?
class
Can
on
we
time, but
record
just
it?
show up.
Yeah, you show up for
Yeah.
Buffy for
Yeah.
sure. So that was
Mhm.
my connection. Was we hosted Buffy night because we had the big TV on the floor.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Yeah, I have kind of not exactly the same, but a similar sort of relationship with the show. I remember the movie. I liked the movie quite a bit. I loved Paul Rubens in the movie. He was the best part of that.
Ooh, eek. Ah. Sorry.
Best death scene ever put
I'm
to
gonna
film.
Yep.
sidetrack this for a hot second.
Go for it.
So in What We Do in the Shadows, the series, there
Mhm.
is the Vampiric Council. And because I am not someone who watches scary movies, it completely was lost on me that every celebrity that is on the vampire, because it's all very big name celebrities, and like
Mhm.
Oh,
Paul
right.
Rubens is one of them, completely
Nice.
flew over my head that they had all played vampires. Just
That's
harmlessly,
awesome.
harmlessly right over my head.
Oh,
So
I
yeah,
love that.
you know,
Those are the best kind of
Um,
Easter eggs because they are
Mhm.
there for only the people that
it
know.
was just
But you
so
weren't
Mhm.
obvious.
offended.
And then I was like, oh, right, of
Yeah.
mhm.
course.
Um, but I liked the movie, and I remember the show being on, and I had lots of friends that were all about it. So I caught episodes here and there. Same with Angel. I never sat down and watched it. Buffy the Vampire Slayer lived in the same world for me as Charmed. I knew of it when it played
Mhm.
in reruns. If there was nothing else going on and it was a rainy day, yeah, I'd be watching it probably. But it wasn't a show that I dove all over. I got into Joss Whedon stuff later on, um,
Sure.
and that is the elephant in the room is Joss Whedon being a part of this. We're not going to go into a whole lot of
Yeah.
him and the issues that he's had because that's not really what we're here for. But he had some troubles. We'll just say that
There's a whole internet you can read about that. That's
Yep, exactly. Go find that. But the content that he created, real good. He made
Yep.
some real good
Mhm.
quality entertainment. Just wish he could be less of a dingus. Anyway, the show premiered March 10th, 1997 on the WB, and it ran until May 20th of 2003. It had moved to UPN by that point.
Mhm.
The series follows Buffy Summers, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, the latest in a succession of young women known as vampire slayers, or just slayers. Um, so she starred in it. We also had Nicholas Brendan plays Xander, Xander Harris, her friend. We got Allison Hannigan in here as
Mhm.
Willow, her best friend and college roommate. This was a season that had Seth Green as Oz.
Yes.
We didn't dive into it a whole lot in this particular episode, but he's a werewolf.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh.
Which is
and
where some of the plot is going in this episode
yeah, this
that you don't
particular
know about.
episode, not knowing or not having the context, he just seems kind of strange in it. We'll sort of
Mhm.
talk about that, but it has to do with his werewolfy stuff. And then Anthony Stewart Head as Rupert Giles, the Watcher, um, this is what I know him from. If I see him it's like, oh, it's Giles.
Mhm.
Anything he's in, that's the first thing I think of. I've seen him in so many things since then,
Yep.
but and he's my favorite thing.
It was
in the
such
show.
a turn to see him in Ted Lasso as the villain, and it like took forever for that to take hold, but he's so good in that as the villain. Also, Rupert in that show.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I just put that together. Thank you, Audie. That is definitely him.
You're welcome.
Another movie he was part of, if you can find it and can get into it, it's Repo, the Genetic Opera.
Yes.
Mm,
He's incredible in that. He is a fantastic musician as well.
yeah.
So this was season 4, episode 5, entitled
Mhm.
Beer Bad. So season 4 started off, Buffy is now in college. She's graduated high school. She's no longer at Sunnydale High School. She's now in college. And so this is her freshman year. We get a quick recap of some things that have happened to her in the first few episodes of this season. Most notably, her getting infatuated with and having a one night stand with a guy named Parker, who afterwards has just been ignoring her. Because he's just having a one night stand college stuff and she's all smitten. That's kind of the basics of sort of what we wrapped up leading into this. And then we open it up with some straight up Buffy vampire slaying action until we find out that it's a fake out daydream. She's sitting in her class daydreaming this scenario where she fights a bunch of vampires and Parker is being attacked by them. And then he's all apologetic to her. And then she snaps out of it and she's in her class. And he's over there, hitting on some other girl. And it does the TV trope thing of whatever, like for college especially, where the class that they're in is directly related to the plot of the episode that we're
I
watching.
love that. It's
Yeah.
so dumb, and I love it every time.
Mhm.
It is
Well,
TV and movies have that thing, right? Where it's like that happens, or you turn the TV or the radio on to exactly the thing you need at that moment. Like,
The phone rings.
yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything. Ring. Yeah.
Well,
I love it's dumb. I love it. Let's just go.
It comes
Let's
out
go with the
two
plot.
ways. It's either super cheesy or it just works. And in this one, it happens to kind of work.
I didn't have a problem with it at all. I was in.
yeah,
The cheese is coming later.
Mhm.
oh boy, does it ever? So they're talking about the id and the ego and all that, and then Buffy just slips back into her daydream. But now it ends. Instead of him just apologizing to her, he's apologizing to her, but he's got his shirt undone and he's got flowers and chocolates.
Mhm.
And then we go to our credits, our opening credits, which are the most 90s of opening credits
Oh.
I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They're so good though. That music is by the band Nerf Herder. Fantastic.
Absolutely love that theme song. Like,
Mhm.
as soon as it plays, I'm just like, bring it, bring it. Like, I watched it so much that the earlier seasons, there's a part where someone's screaming and there's like an operatic in the middle of the theme song at a very specific time, and I missed it this time. I was like, oh yeah, this is later season. Don't have that.
This reminds me of like when Smallville used to start. And it was somebody save
Oh, yeah.
me," just like
Mhm.
it's just got you.
Yeah, it
Man,
absolutely does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the power of theme songs. We've talked about it a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, it worked.
Amy, you had something you were going to say.
So I was going to say that this setup led me to believe. I mean, because my Buffy knowledge is minimal, but
Mhm.
we could say that I am rather entrenched in the supernatural being under the surface of regular life pretty regularly.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I made this like based off of this beginning. I was like, oh, Parker's an incubus. Obviously, this is the only explanation, right?
Mm.
Sure.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's just a dick.
Somebody.
Yep.
I mean,
Mhm.
Buffy's pretty dang cool. This guy, I don't know what
Yeah.
he's looking
That's
for.
what I'm saying. I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
girl,
Yeah.
girl,
This
And-
guy
come
sucks.
on.
Let me lay this as the Buffy aficionado here.
Sure. Yeah.
This is in her lifetime. This is the second person she has slept with.
I mean,
Mhm.
I
The
get
first
that.
time she lost her virginity was to Angel, and he turned evil right after that. So, there's
I mean, that's
There's some trauma.
that'll
context there
that'll
too.
mess
Yeah.
with you, right?
A
Mhm.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little
And
bit.
now this guy's just ignoring her.
Mhm.
You know.
Mhm.
So evil in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
So
it was wild. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, here we
Yeah.
go.
What's wrong
No.
with this dude?
Not at
Nope.
all. Not even a little.
So Buffy and Willow are in college. Xander, however, graduated high school. He's not going to college. He's just a townie boy. But he gets himself a job as a bartender at the college watering hole at the pub with his fake ID. And I did love that where he shows his fake ID and Willow looks at it and is like, I don't know if this is on the up and up. And he's like, what gives it away? Looking at it.
That killed me. Like I wrote that in my notes because that was so funny to me. It was just so deadpan. And I didn't have any context for who Xander was either, so he was real annoying to me for a little while until I realized like he's kind of the saving the day in this episode.
He's kind of annoying all the time.
Yeah,
but that's just
I
who he
liked
is.
him by the
In,
end
like,
of this
a
episode.
lovable way.
Yeah, by the end of this episode, I was like annoying but tolerable because he's got a good heart and he's really trying to do the right thing. At least for my 45 minutes of seeing Buffy, that's the way it felt.
Sure.
I also loved in 90 something whenever this was, he's making a totally dated cocktail reference, and I'm like, okay,
Wasn't that long
that was
ago,
impressive.
man?
I mean, for those of us that had TBS, I know what you mean, but for everybody else, I don't know.
Cocktails on my short list of films that I enjoy watching the first half of.
I've heard that.
And then there's a point, and then I go, I don't need to watch the rest of the film. I've gotten what I wanted out of it.
It's commonly referred to as Tom Cruise's worst film. So I don't know.
Yeah, so now we get Xander's at the bar trying to do his job. He's all excited to be the bartender, and I get this, right? Like if you don't know what the job is really going to be like, he's all excited. He's got his lighter, right? Because this is you could still smoke in bars in the late 90s. So he's got his lighter to be ready to help people. He's like, I've got my lighter, I've got my rag, and I've got my empathetic face. And then it turns out, no, it's not that. It's just a bunch of drunk people yelling at you for more drinks, including the tropiest of tropey college stuck-up intellectuals you could possibly imagine. Like just the type of person that you instantly just want to punch in the face as soon as they start speaking.
There was a moment right before this took off though where I wrote in my notes that I kind of missed the 90s because there's this shot of everybody in this certain clothes they were wearing, and I was like, oh man, that was like them were the good
It was a
days.
comfy time.
Yeah, everybody look they fit 4 people in
We're
those
just
jeans.
comfy.
Yeah, we're just happy to be comfortable. It was good.
But yeah, I like Xander. He wants to do the whole light somebody's cigarette thing, which is a funny gag that when they pay that off later on, I
pretty
laughed.
good.
That was a
was
nice
really
little
laughed
payoff.
at that one.
It might have been the best part.
It's in the top 3 for sure. So he's giving everybody their drinks. He gives a pitcher of this Black Frost beer to the guy who takes it to his table or whatever. Buffy comes in to talk to Xander and sees her crush Parker at the bar with another girl yet again, and runs into a guy. I think, and Audie, you can tell me or not, this is somebody that she ends up involved with later, the guy that
Riley.
she bumps into.
Yes, Riley ends up being an integral character later on in the seasons. Like, there's a lot that we haven't got to yet, but
Sure,
he's gonna become a thing.
So they have a moment, and then she's getting all down on herself for pining after this guy and blah blah blah. She goes to talk to Xander, and he kind of convinces her, look, just relax, calm down. She's gonna leave, and then she bumps into another person. She just keeps running into people, literally running into them. But it happens to be one of those douchey frat boys, and him and his 3 friends, one of which was a baby Cal Penn.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that shocked me. Look at
Little Kumar.
In one of his first acting roles, like one of his first screen roles, was this. And he's even mentioned that
to be in on. He has to do a lot for his first role.
He has said in some interviews though that it was one of the scripts that he kept because it was early in his career and it was a role that he got up for and ended up getting, and it wasn't a racial stereotype.
Yeah.
He was just being a college
He's
kid.
just a guy.
Nice.
So I thought that was kind of cool. But so they start drinking, and Buffy's hanging out with these 4 dudes, and they're doing their pseudo intellectual thing while drinking more and more beer.
God, I did not miss college at that point. I was
No.
like, oh no,
Yeah.
oh no.
Because if you've gone to college, like you have been a part of or been next to this conversation.
Because even going to art school, we had the art history nerds that were like
Oh
that.
no, it's a lot.
This is the part where I wrote, I kind of don't miss the 90s. Like, I was
Really?
missing
I don't think the 90s
So
was the
weird.
problem. See, the problem now is that these guys are just on the internet.
Yeah, it's just so awful.
They're everywhere. They're just bothering all of us at all times.
Everyone
Instead
should
of
just
only at the bar.
understand how
Instead of
dumb
only
they
at the
are.
bar where you can leave.
And I will give the episode credit for, at this point, they're just like had too much beer dumb, right? They're
Yes.
just that little, the edges are just
Yeah.
rounding off a little bit for them because they've just drank pitchers of beer.
Yeah.
But while this is all going on too, we get our subplot, which is Willow and Oz hanging out at like a coffee shop or something, and Oz is all weirdly obsessed over the singer in this band. And we got some of that in the previously on portion where like he's walking past and sees her. But he's like weirdly entranced by her, and it's kind of freaking Willow out.
It was awkward for us too. It was like way too emo and weird, and I was like, is this scene over yet?
Okay. But Buffy nerd here, they were at the Bronze, which is the club in the Buffyverse to go to, where most of the music happens, usually where they're hanging out, not the bar. Like the bar is kind of a one-off here. The Bronze is usually where stuff happens. Yeah. And, Oz and this girl have a weird thing, and they get into it later episodes. This is just like the tease of it to kind of start that. What's going on with Oz? Why is he not paying attention to Willow?
It's just weird
because they're an
Seth
item at this
Green
point.
like doing nothing.
A baby.
Well, young, and like at this point, I think Can't Hardly Wait was the big thing that he had done, and in Austin Powers,
maybe.
So you've always seen him like in this big comedic thing. Then just see him kind of just there.
Yeah, he's
and it was
broody and
it was weird,
and emo.
Yeah, it's not Robot Chicken. It was something else entirely.
So the next morning, Willow, I love Willow coming in like from, getting ready to go to class and all that. And she's just talking to herself, like ripping on this Veruca girl, which of course her name is Veruca, right?
Of course.
But Willow is the best thing in this episode.
For sure. Absolutely.
Hands
Especially
down.
this scene is so very good.
This scene is so good because she comes in and she's doing her whole like, oh, my name's Veruca. She's doing that. And then she sees Buffy, and Buffy is just in her PJs sitting an inch and a half from the TV and is regressing linguistically. She's just TV good. I like it's shiny and people, tiny people. And,
tiny people.
And Willow's like, are you okay? What happened last night? And then we get the wonderful awkward of like,
oh God.
No, you didn't do anything with Parker. No, not Parker. 4 really smart guys. And Willow's like, what? Whoa, hold on. Whoa. What?
That's a rebound.
So Willow's thinking, and I mean, they just go straight forward because she mentions drinking the beer or whatever. And she's like, and then group sex?
Yeah.
And Buffy's like, no.
That snaps Buffy out of it just enough to be like, no, just a beer.
So they go to class. Let's see. And then what happens after that? Basically, then Buffy ends up back at the bar that like in the afternoon with the same 4 guys drinking more beer and just getting dumber.
Yeah, because she was dumb in class because she snatched the sandwich from that one girl and started eating it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sandwich. And then we
Which
get
if you
like
bring a whole sandwich to class, that's the risk you run. That's what I'm saying.
That's true.
But then we get the
college kids. Come on.
The random basement chemical experiment thing going on.
Oh yeah.
We see. Oh, that's going into the beer. Can't imagine why the beer's doing anything.
Definitely no actual chemistry that has ever happened in the real world has used that many swirlies and test tubes.
No.
For sure.
It makes great TV. Just
looks great.
Fantastic TV.
So after seeing that stuff, we're in the bar and it's the 4 guys and Buffy again. They're all just drinking beer, but they're getting dumber. They're like, they're no longer just, I've had a few too many beers kind of dumb. They're like regressing
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Xander's watching this all unfold and is like, all right, this is getting a little bit much.
And this is where the episode starts to go off the rails for me. This is what starts to make it lose IMDb stars, because there's a dumb that's clever, and then there's a dumb that's just hard to watch. So like,
But first we get the best joke payoff in the episode.
That yes, while Xander is staring over, watching them drinking and getting dumber, the girl, a girl that he tried to pull the having a hard day and pull out his lighter, is there, cigarette in hand, and she's like, "Do you have a light?" And without saying a word, he just holds up a no smoking sign.
that was so good.
It's such a good. Oh, that was really good.
Great gag.
It was really great.
So Xander's seeing what's going on as they're getting like they're regressing to monosyllabic grunts at this point. Like, they're just getting dumb. We do check in with Willow and Oz just to basically be like, "Hey, you didn't show up to class." "Yeah, I'm going to another concert with Veruca's band. Do you want to go?" And Willow's like, "Nah, I have no desire to be involved in that." So, Xander ends up getting Buffy to go home. I did like him. He starts the jukebox playing some music, and Buffy like goes over to it and just starts hitting it. And then saying like, "I like this" or whatever. And Xander's like, "Okay, you know what? No, you've had enough. You need to go home."
More singing. Want more beer.
It just
Right. So first of all, this establishment is knowingly serving underage people. First of all.
Yep.
First of all. Second of all, we'll get to it. I have a big question when we get to the reveal. I have a large question.
Okay. So Xander gets her to go home. The guys are still there. One of them heads off to the bathroom. Xander comes over, is trying to clean up, and basically says, "All right, you guys are cut off. You need to go home." There's a whole thing where they're just throwing money on the table, and he's like, "You know what? I'm just going to keep all this. Like, that's fine." You know. And then they hear a loud crash from the bathroom. Also a good joke, which was, "Oh, that's what happens when you don't eat enough fiber." And the guy comes out of the bathroom, but now he has gone full caveman. He's got long hair and then all of them start to transform. He comes out and like clocks Xander over the head, knocks him unconscious, and then all the dudes regress and turn into cavemen.
Like
guys
literally
transform.
Like
yep.
Right. I was gonna say full Geico caveman.
Full Geico caveman. Like it's something else.
Yeah.
Xander does wake up, tricks them with a lighter for fire to get their attention and get them out, and then goes to find Jack and tell him that there's a problem. "Jack, something's going on. The kids are drinking all this beer in there," and he's like, "They had it coming." And it turns out Jack is spiking the beer because his brother-in-law is a warlock and showed him how to do it.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yes. I figured that's where your question was going to come from.
What?
Go.
What? Why? Why?
So the reason given in the episode is simply he's fed up with these snot-nosed college kids talking down to him, and he wanted to make them a little dumb.
Okay, and I understand this. I also hated them.
Yeah,
but you've now made them 100% more insufferable.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You own a bar in a college town. You've chosen this. You don't need to do that. What are you doing, sir? You've made it so much worse.
This was the point where the episode lost me, and it lost me for this reason. I am fine with not needing a deep explanation of what's going on in stuff.
Sure.
Like, that's fine. I don't need that all the time. But when your explanation is, well, my brother-in-law is a warlock, he showed me how to do it, and then nothing else happens with that character or that storyline at all, and Xander is just fine with this.
Yeah, he's okay. Like, oh.
So I had to look to see, like, well, okay, maybe, this guy's been around for a while. They all know him. No, this is the one and only episode that Jack is in. Yeah. He doesn't exist in the rest of this series. So the fact that they're just like, yeah, this just that's bad. I'm sorry, that's real bad. Like,
that's
even
worse than I thought, because I was just accepting. Okay, well, maybe it's just an in-universe thing where there's warlocks are common or whatever. And I thought this guy
It
had
is. Like at this point in Buffy, it is. It's kind of common for them to be
okay.
dealing with this kind of thing, but it's still bad. It is still dumb the way this
Yeah.
is written.
Well, yeah,
Like,
and it's like this one bar owner just drops it like, oh yeah, I did this thing to these kids. I'm like, oh, that doesn't even. I mean, even if warlocks are normal, this is still doesn't make any sense. And Xander's just like,
right,
oh,
exactly.
I better go
This
solve
is your
this.
livelihood, sir.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, they broke a bunch
And
of
to
stuff,
Amy's
and
point-
they're being obnoxious and running people out. Like, what is happening?
Right.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
messed up your whole bar.
This is a bad
Mhm.
move. Yeah, now you got to talk to the
Mhm.
police about why there's like whatever happened to your toilet. Like, I mean, this is going to be a bad night for you moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was not a good. We did
So-
not think this one through.
No.
Yeah.
No. So
No.
now Xander's out trying to figure out what's going on with these guys and find Buffy.
Right.
Well, Willow heads to the coffee shop, the Bronze. You said, is that what it's called?
Mhm.
Yeah.
She heads in there, and who's there? Parker.
Mhm.
So she decides she's gonna give Parker a little piece of her mind and starts talking to him and telling him all the dumb stuff that he's been doing. And she wants an explanation and an apology from him.
Mhm.
So he starts talking to her, and we cut away. And when we come back to them, this was the other part of the episode that I loved. And again, it's Willow.
Mhm.
But
Absolutely.
when we come back to the two of them, they've moved from the table to the couches in the corner,
Yeah.
and they're having that wonderful conversation. And Parker is telling her about how great it is to be able to open up to her and really have a good conversation with her and all of this. And she's softened to him a little bit, right? She's not so standoffish now, and she's very much like, oh, you kind of have a little bit of a point. And she gives him just enough rope to hang himself. And then she's like, I just have one question for you. How gullible do you think I am?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because I did not know where this was going and I was getting more and more upset. I'm like, no, she's not that stupid. Like, this is.
No, she's not.
I was so
Mhm.
frustrated. And then she blows up. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'm good. This is fine.
That's our Willow, folks.
I was finding myself so annoyed because people can intellectualize bad behavior. And this guy was
Right.
just doing that thing where he's intellectualizing his
Mhm.
bad behavior to defend it. And I'm just
Yep.
like, I hate everything about you, and I need you to just burn alive in some. Like, I'm done. I'm done. I hope someone hits you
Mhm.
with a stick because this is over for me. Yeah.
Well,
Get your wish.
we'll get there. Um, but yeah, I just loved Willow being like, how gullible do you think I am? And just tearing him right down and being like, you're just an idiot. And while they're having that conversation and she's doing that to him, the cavemen show up. They burst into the place.
They try to sell me
And
car
basically-
insurance.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one of them got hit by a car, so that didn't work out.
Maybe that's where the
That's true.
inspiration for the cavemen came from because they began in 2004.
I want it to be. That would make this all worth it.
They look
Because
almost the
it's like,
same.
it would just be
That
the
would.
dumbest thing.
I swear the makeup artist
Um,
for this episode did the Geico caveman because they look
Yeah, it's
identical.
like great.
So we also got Xander and Giles. We get our one little bit with Giles here, or his brief appearance in this episode. They go and they find Buffy in her dorm room, and now she's doing cave drawings of Parker and stuff on the walls of her dorm room.
In lipstick.
Mhm.
In lipstick, because of course. And so as they're trying to discuss what to do, she's decided she wants the TV again, and Giles is like, the TV is off.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets all upset. I did like the conversation of them as they're walking in, where Giles is like, well, what were you giving her beer for anyway? You should know better.
I
He's like,
know.
oh, I'm sorry, mister. I spent the 60s in a drug-fueled whatever phase. And he's like, look, it was the early 70s, and you know that was different.
Mhm.
Because there's a whole backstory to Giles' character where he spent a bunch of time in his youth in a cult of some kind,
Mhm.
and he went by the name Ripper. And he
Yes.
was
he was down in South America doing ayahuasca and digging up artifacts.
Oh,
And we've
nice
brought it
throwback.
Nice.
So when Giles and Xander are trying to discuss, like, well, what are we going to do with her, and what are we going to do about these guys? And Xander says, well, Jack tells me that the effects of the beer will wear off after a day or two, and that gets Buffy's attention. She's like, beer? I want beer.
Mhm.
Like, no beer for you. She's like, and you're not stopping her. Certainly,
Nope.
Giles and Xander aren't. So she knocks him down and takes off.
Mhm.
And now they've got to go find her. So they split up to find her. Xander does, finds her outside. Meanwhile, inside the bronze, the cavemen have knocked a bunch of people out and are now on a quest for fire.
Right.
And they set a fire. They build a little bonfire, and then it starts to spread. So now the whole place is up in flames.
To which they've scared themselves because fire bad.
Yeah.
Right,
Fire
exactly.
burns. Yeah.
When Xander does end up finding Buffy, he's talking to her, and then she smells the fire. They figure out the place on, and her instinct kicks in to like do something, and she goes to the fire.
This
she
kind
goes
of threw me because she says fire bad and then immediately runs towards the fire.
right, exactly.
That's not what I would do if I do something
Right.
that was bad. I would run the other way.
And here again is that kind of dumbness of like she's regressing their cavemen level, cave people level. But she knows that she remembers enough to know when she goes in there that a fire extinguisher does something because she picks it up and can't figure out how it works and just throws the whole thing at the fire.
My assumption is she's not as transformed as the Neanderthals because she doesn't physically transform like they did.
Well, right.
But
Right.
also, they don't want to make Buffy look ugly on the show, so they wouldn't have her transform anyway.
No,
that
you
would
just
be
gotta
crazy.
fluff up her hair enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look how deranged she looks. Makeup just slightly out of place. I don't think so.
She does eventually though rescue everybody in there. Gets them all out of there. The last one being Parker, who is coughing and hacking. I can't breathe. What do we do? What do we do? She just beats him over the head with a big stick and carries him out.
I would have been fine if she just left him there. It wouldn't have hurt my feelings at all.
Well, yeah.
He could figure
And
it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that was sort of the callback to what she had said earlier. We're like, well, if he ended up in a den full of vampires and I didn't rescue him, that's not the same as killing him myself, right? Like,
yeah.
like, yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, so she does rescue him, and then we just get our wrap up, which is them outside. Buffy still, completely regressed. Willow's like recovering from it, and Xander and Giles are there, and I did like Xander being like, well, those guys are over there in the car. They're just going to have to wait it out and realize the, socio-economical ramifications of being mean to me. And I liked Giles being like, whose car is that? I don't know. It was unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. And then the final thing is Parker again apologizes to Buffy, asks genuine forgiveness, and she just hits him with a stick again.
Yeah.
And that was it. I was like,
that's the way it should
Okay.
end.
And yeah, so it's not a good episode.
No.
Good.
No,
Don't judge the whole series by this episode. Steve.
absolutely
No,
not.
we know
No.
that.
That's
we're all aware.
Right. And
Mhm.
to be fair, I not to get ahead of the normal flow of the show, but I enjoyed this to some extent. Like I enjoyed the DNA that's in it. I don't enjoy the plot, this particular plot, but I could see how the characters shine through to me to go, okay, if this is the worst, then it's still okay. Like that must mean these other shows that what is there? The little the threads, are fun, and I could see watching more of this. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we've noticed these last few episodes is good shows are good shows and well liked for reasons. But looking at them when they're at their worst can tell you a lot. I mean, the worst we could find of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, really good episode.
Yeah.
It was really good.
By extension, the worst we find of Buffy, real bad.
It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
bad.
Just dumb. Like it's just
This
dumb.
is hard to watch
It's just-
for me.
This is the definition of a filler episode, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
For
they
sure.
moved some plot stuff along, or they tried to, like overarching plot, but the plot of this particular episode is useless, and there's no stakes to anything at all, and it doesn't even make sense. Like, I could understand if there was some sort of underlying thing with the bar, but to have basically the bar shows up here,
Yeah.
Xander has
Because
Xander
now
gets
this
a job
man
at
is
the
in
bar,
prison.
right?
Yeah.
They've taken his bar and he has gone to jail.
So this was This plot was actually written with the plan to take advantage of funds from the Office of National Drug Control Policy that were
Of course.
available to shows that had an anti-drug message. So they came up with this plot idea, and then best part about it, the funding got rejected.
Because it was
Because
It's too stupid.
the funding was rejected because, quote, drugs were an issue, but it was otherworldly nonsense, very abstract, and not like real life kids taking drugs. Viewers won't make the link to the ONDCP's message.
Yeah.
Okay. So I
Or
do
any
want to bring up
message.
the two lessons that we can
Yes,
learn
please.
from this show. All right, the first one, because this is nonsense, so maybe we don't technically learn this lesson. But if you're out, don't accept a drink from a stranger.
Mhm.
You
Right.
always, now we know there was a bartender in this case, but the bartender would never do that because this is your livelihood. What are you doing? And then
Right.
you go to
Mhm.
prison. It's very
Mhm.
easy to track when it's the bartender.
Yeah.
Someone wants to buy you a drink, you get it directly from the bartender. You
Right.
do not let it out of your sight. That's lesson number one. Lesson
Mhm.
number two, when you're getting involved with the new person, make sure you're both on the same page about what's going on.
Mhm.
You can just
Yeah.
have a little conversation. Just
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
just settle that right up front.
Yeah.
Because if they're not an incubus, then you should really be
And they-
more reasonable, Buffy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
that was
And
really
this,
upsetting because she's like this tough. I think that was honestly what kind of bothered me the most, right? Because even in my limited Buffy experience, like she's this tough badass that can kill monsters and like she's so great, and then she's just like, oh, this boy though. Like, come
Mhm.
on, man.
yeah,
Mhm.
He's not that good. Like,
that
don't pretend it was that good. It was
that
not.
got me I think that was where it's still like what I was most offended about. Like, yeah, the
Yeah.
storyline is stupid, but her victim shaming herself at the bar was just too much for
Yeah.
me. I was like,
Yeah.
Stop.
this is awful. Who wrote this?
Yeah.
This is not how she
It's
needs to
not
think
good.
of
Mhm.
herself. And no one was coming to be like, no, well, I mean, Willow was there, but like
Willow was
everybody
because
should have
Willow's
just
Yeah.
been
better.
Willow
like,
was there.
yeah, because Willow's awesome and carried this episode. But like
I have a
everybody else
again-
should have been
question.
like, that
I have,
guy's an
like,
a-hole. You're fine.
this is a broader Buffy question. That I think I know that Willow winds up with Felicia Day. Yeah, is that a thing? Is that this
What?
show? No.
Not
What show
Felicia
is
Day.
Felicia Day in?
She is from the
Supernatural.
musical
Oh.
Doctor Horrible.
Oh yeah. No, but I thought she was in
I
another
thought
thing
she was
with.
in Buffy or
She
she was in
Felicia Day may
Supernatural.
be in. She was in
She was in a-
Supernatural.
Is that what I'm thinking of?
She may have
I
been
just
in
know
Buffy
she did
later as a
yeah, she
small
was in
part.
some a late season, I think the final season maybe
Okay.
of it.
But she was not a main person.
Okay.
Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens, and basically like everybody that could potentially be a Slayer becomes a Slayer at the end, and it's like a whole bunch of stuff dealing with that. So she may have been one of those.
Yeah, she was a recurring character later on.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like, I mean, Eliza Dushku was like
Yeah.
basically in 2 seasons.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
but
where my
she's
crush on her
remembered
started,
more for it.
for sure.
Okay.
She
Yeah,
was a
Felicia
heck of a
Day,
character.
recurring character in the final season, 8 episodes.
Mhm.
Felicia Day was in.
Yeah.
And this was I mean, there were some guest stars in that. Felicia Day,
Oh
Nathan
yeah.
Fillion. Nathan Fillion was in 5
Yes.
episodes.
Mm-hmm. This is where he really started with Joss.
Yeah. So,
He was a big baddie.
all right, so we know what Steven thinks of the show overall. He would you'd watch episodes
Oh,
of
heck
more
yeah.
episodes of this?
Yeah, this was cool. This was a neat trip down. Like, this is late '90s, early 2000s. Like, those are my formative years, and I felt like I was back there watching this. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Audie, how about you? Well, I have an idea. I think you already like the show.
I'm ready to watch it all over again. Like, yeah, there's a good chance I will be starting this series over and starting to watch it somehow, some way,
Nice.
because it's just, God, I love it. It's one of my favorites. Like, yeah, it's great. So much I remember about this show. So much I loved about this show. George R.R. Martin has nothing on Joss Whedon when it comes to killing beloved characters. Like, if you've only seen Serenity, you ain't seen nothing yet. So, Mrs. Calendar.
And Amy, how about you?
It was fine. Like I don't know. It's I mean, maybe I would have enjoyed it more 20 years ago or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, maybe I should have
Mhm.
sat and watched it with my roommate. But at that point, I would have had to catch up, and you couldn't do that then.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
true.
not a thing. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not like in a hurry. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
hate it, but I'm not
Mhm.
super into actually watching it.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, I would watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I will, but I would. I enjoyed it, and I love the premise and the idea of it, and
Mhm.
the people involved on screen are all great. So that's
Yeah.
another draw for it. But yeah, I thought it was good.
It definitely
Even
made
though
me want
this
to go back
episode
and
is bad.
it made me want to go back and watch the movie again. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
I need to introduce Sam to it. He could handle vampires in that setting. That's when I
Sure.
watched it. I was
Why
probably
not?
7. I love the crap out of that
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah, that is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the one of the worst, if not the worst episode of it. Beer bad. The attempting to make a anti-beer episode, and it's just stupid.
Didn't even
That's
get
how
the-
bad of an episode it was. They couldn't even do that right.
Couldn't even get the
Nope.
funding.
Couldn't even get the funding for it. I love that. It's just supernatural nonsense.
So good.
Mhm.
And that will wrap up our look at the worst of the best, which I do feel like is going to be a topic we'll probably come back to at
Oh,
some
yeah.
point. This is kind of
Oh,
this has been a
yeah.
fun series of episodes to do.
I mean,
Mhm.
I'm glad we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am
sure.
too.
Mhm.
We
I
did.
am
We did
too.
have some feedback. Do you want the
Awesome.
feedback on the
Yeah.
episode?
Yes,
Yes.
All right.
absolutely.
We
So
do.
I've got one piece of feedback from Alec, who I was actually explaining what episode we were doing. He goes, "Oh, I remember that one. It's an atrocity." Because he'd immediately got done saying how much he loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, we're doing the one Beer Bad where they turn into Neanderthals. Oh, it's an atrocity. I was like, that's pretty good. I'm writing that down. So we had that. We also had some feedback unrelated to Buffy, or some mail in the mailbag. Unrelated to Buffy, but
Ooh.
I can read it if you would like.
Yeah.
If we're there.
I would
Sure.
like.
If nobody else has any other
Yes.
Buffy feedback. So this came from
I didn't get any Buffy feedback, so
okay.
I didn't.
Okay. Well, I got this from Brian, who says, "Hello, all. I recently found your podcast and started watching it from the beginning. I've just finished the Dinosaurs Purple Leaf episode. Before listening, I wanted to watch it on Disney Plus, only to find that Disney skipped that episode for streaming. They also did that to the Red Skull episode from Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. So when it comes to topical or potentially offensive issues, why can't they just put a disclaimer at the start of the episode?" So I did not realize that Disney had skipped
Mm.
because of the drug content, considering it's anti-drug, which is weird to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't remember what we watched it on, but I feel like we watched it on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
and
I thought we did too.
maybe it's been pulled off. But
Maybe.
yeah. Either way, we're glad to have you, Brian. Thank you for listening to the show. It's awesome.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
behind the adult paywall kind of thing now.
Oh, what if it is? But it's anti-drugs. Why would you put it in? Well, I guess it's a very sarcastic anti-drugs episode.
Right.
It's
Right,
more of an
yeah.
it's more of an anti-drugs episode when you get down to
It is so
Yes.
episodes like this Buffy episode don't happen.
Right.
That is what
Yes.
this is making fun of.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
Very
dinosaurs
much so.
episode was. I need to go back and watch that again. That was
It was really
magic
good.
at
Yeah.
the end. Please don't make
It
us
really,
do these
really was.
anymore.
So we put up a poll and got your feedback to help us pick our next topic, and I have the results of that
There you
poll. And our next topic: Fox Kids animation.
Oh,
Oh,
The
snap!
Fox
snap.
Kids afternoon. So
Yes.
I definitely I have a site that's got a breakdown of the shows that were on there,
Mhm.
so we'll be able to pick from. But we got, I mean, we have stuff like Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, Batman the
Tiny
Animated
Sure.
Series.
Mhm.
There's some good choices here.
Tiny
I'm
Toons.
excited because
know.
this was one I know, Amy, you had mentioned a while back that like Fox was not a network watched in your
We
house.
were not allowed.
Oh yeah, because it's adult-oriented cartoon content. Yeah.
But this was definitely the Fox Kids afternoon block was like getting home from grade school, watch like everyday type stuff for me. So I'm
Mhm.
excited for this topic. So we'll see what we end up with coming up for that. But that's gonna be a lot of fun. Fox Kids Afternoon. I
Yeah.
can't wait. I cannot wait. That's what we're doing next. So thank you all for voting. Thank everybody for listening. If you want to send us some feedback, like Brian, you can do that. Email us. Those were the days show@gmail.com.
Mhm.
You can find us on Twitter at Those Days Show. You can find me everywhere as TV's Travis. So if you can't find the show itself and you're on a different platform, you want to talk to me, I'm there. Amy, you're out there as Danny Ora on
Yep.
everything.
DANIORA.
And Audie, what are your socials?
You can find me at the Audie Norman.
Excellent. Steven?
Just go to linktree/Steve H&H.
Okay.
That's
There you go.
linktr.ee/Steve
Okay.
H&H. And I'm all, then click all the buttons.
Sure.
There you go. That's the easiest way.
Okay.
So definitely check those out. Yes, Audie.
Do you want to know what we're going to watch next?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we need to know.
That's like a thing
That's
that
important.
we
Mhm.
do.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought about not doing this and letting somebody else, but then I was like, screw it. I've got a sequential art degree. We're doing it. We're starting it off with Batman the Animated Series.
Oh,
Nice.
no. I'm so excited.
We are going to watch first season episode Heart of Ice.
Ooh.
Now-
Ooh, that's a good choice.
And depending on where you watch, if you watch on Max, for some reason they have it as episode 4.
Okay.
For some reason. If you watch it on Prime, it's season 1, episode 14, which is where it's mostly listed everywhere else. So
Wild.
See, and if you're
See-
listening to this and you're an adult and you're like, I don't have time for cartoons, just put your ego away and watch this episode of television.
Mhm.
I don't know who in our audience, like, I don't know that our target audience is going, I don't have time for cartoons. It's just a vibe I get.
Yeah,
I feel like, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like with the energy that we give off.
Well, I am now super excited about that because I that and that particular episode too. So this is going to be a lot of fun to talk about next week. So that is our next episode, Batman the Animated Series. We're doing Fox Kids Afternoon, and we're starting off with the top of Fox Kids Afternoon.
Yeah, we're coming out of the gate.
Well done. Yeah, so that'll be next episode. So until then, for Stephen, Amy, and Audie, I'm Travis, and saying, hey, enjoy those old TV shows.